Hi, this is my video for Barnett Pierce's article about coordination. And this article really helped me kind of think about, about how I deliver messages and meaning and how we derive interpretation and whether my communications um, produce a flow that can be interpreted in a way that will make similar meaning for both me and the receiver, or if my communication is allowing people to interpret things differently. So at the end of the article, Pierce poses these two questions. Well, first off, he says the human condition derives from being, that's the wrong quote. Okay, he says all human beings everywhere coordinate with their fellows. The question is not whether they will achieve coordination, but how and in what form. So those are kind of two questions I want to keep as we go through this video. He explains a well-coordinated conversation as the utterances of both persons which mesh in such a way to bring about a social event that both interpret as a complete pattern. So, like I said, this article really made me kind of wonder whether or not my communications were being interpreted in this complete pattern, or if when I communicate, my communication is being interpreted as an incomplete pattern. So, Barnett Pierce talks about how, as human beings, our human condition derives, he says, our human condition derives from being simultaneously interpretive, like we like stories and we rely on stories to dictate how we communicate, and then we are also driven, and our human condition is derived from these social events, and inextricably these are enmeshed in unfolding patterns, is what he says. So that is kind of how we derive this meaning. And so this coordination is what allows us to have complete, if we achieve coordination, we have these complete patterns in our communication that allow for interpretation that is understood on from the sender and the receiver. He gives an example of a play, this play that we're all on this stage, and in this play there's no director, there's everyone is an actor or actress, and there are countless props, and we go on stage and we pick up these props, and we start acting a certain character in a certain role. And if we walk over to one group and we start acting like Harry Potter, like say I start acting the role of Hermione, I find a stick that I start pretending is a wand, and then I walk over to a group of people and they are using props similarly, and one's flying on a broom, and I say something that they interpret as part of their same story, and we form a group of witches, and we are together and we understand each other, and we have formed this little pact, or maybe a family forms a little group. And so there's some organization and some coordination on this stage where this interpretation is a complete pattern. But then there's also people who can't find a group, who are walking around aimlessly with nowhere to go. No one is interpreting them correctly. Some people believe they're the director and are trying to boss people around. Others won't listen. Other stories don't mesh. These different events lead to a very chaotic stage. So in a way, that's kind of what's going on in our world today, is that we're all acting through these different roles, but when we, but not seldom, but we're looking for people who we can form these complete patterns with. So that is kind of an example, or a metaphor for what this coordination is. Barnett Pierce talks about how, similarly, when a boy meets girl, they have their relationship one day will maybe turn into wife and husband, but their interactions are based off of what their framework is at the time. So maybe they met at class or at work or on the beach. And that sets this frame for the kind of relationship they have. And so these frames kind of allow us to have this interpretation. And Peirce talks about computers and bees and wolves and how they interact, and how computers can have coordination, but that's because they're programmed that way. But we have all this communication that gets in the way, different things that we interpret around us, our surroundings. So basically, this idea of coordination is complex, but also it was really easy to understand because I really agree with it. So, thank you.